All right, everybody. Good morning or good afternoon, as the case may be. Thank you for attending this PowerCast. My name is Ian Cartwright. I'm Education Manager for Common. And if you experience any technical issues during the presentation, go ahead and send me a chat message and I'll address your issue. If you'd like to send a written question to Greg, the presenter, during the presentation, for that, you can use the Q&A area. And Greg will answer questions at the end of the presentation as time permits. This presentation today is Make Better, Quicker, and Better Informed Business Decisions by Greg Schmidt of Fortra. This PowerCast is sponsored by Fortra. Greg's a 20-plus year veteran in data, document forms, and process automation, specializes in document automation and business intelligence. He's helped hundreds of companies automate their data and document processes and streamline their cumbersome business processes through strategic technologies and planning. With that, I'm going to hand control over to Greg. Greg, why don't you go ahead?
Yeah, thanks, Ian. And I'm just going to get started here. Again, welcome everyone to today's webinar, and I'm glad everybody could join today and I hope you find the topic very helpful in your BI and data analytics automation journey. My name is Greg Schmidt, and I'll be presenting today how to make quicker, better informed business decisions. And a lot of that's around removing some of the older technology that you might be using or older programming that you might be using inside a Query 400 or custom programs, which then might limit the impact of the business data that you're using. This has been a very called upon topic in today's IBM IBI world for us, and a topic that I deal here at Fortra on a daily basis with customers and prospects to really help them remove those outdated programs and queries, and also create new strategies around how and who can access the data inside of the organization. That's a big part of this, is not just presenting the data to people, but also the security around the data and who can see and what they can see inside of there. Making users more self-sufficient and starting to remove some of the burden off of IT and provide IT the tools to deploy more useful and insightful data strategies across the organization. As you start to plan your 2023 objectives, and even some of the for the last few weeks here of 2022, you need to really start looking at replacing and identifying those different areas inside of the business where that outdated technology lives, and look at the labor intensive effort that you're putting towards some of those programs and stuff like that to get the data out to users. So today you will learn how you can start that modernization process of your business intelligence solution and also strategy, and start by removing those older RPG programs that are hard to maintain, and also Query 400 queries that are limiting your data export to your users. And remember this too, something you'll see here today is, remember, you always don't have to start from scratch. So that's one of the big things here that I'm going to show in the live demonstration here, is you always don't have to start from scratch. You can reuse and take your existing queries and SQL statements and import those with ease within seconds. So that's a really nice strategy around that, is then you can modify them inside of the interface. Here's just a quick look at that agenda for today. I'm going to start out with a few trends that we're seeing in the industry and inside of different organizations, and what they're needing out of their data to drive their businesses forward. And then I'm going to move into that main topic, quicker, better informed business decisions with your data. And when doing this, I'll be talking about some of the gaps that Query 400 has and custom programs might have in your today process. Along with that, I'll be talking about and showing how the SQL BI solution can help you down that modernization journey. And the live demonstration will be how you can import those queries and access those queries and easily put prompts in within a few seconds inside of there to make them reusable. What I like to say, build once, use many times kind of processes. And then, like Ian said, we'll finish up with some Q&A at the end here. So please enter your questions and stuff inside of there. All right. So starting with trends, we all know that the digital future is here. And the digital transformation at some form in organizations is here to stay, right? And it's growing. It really just depends on how your company chooses to move forward with that strategy, and how fast you can work that into your company's IT growth and strategy. We all been living in a digital world for a long time now, right? For the really for the past 20 some years, with the big boom in the internet and stuff like that. And just the technology, how it drives it forward. But it's fast moving and ever changing. Companies need to choose technology that's going to grow with them, right? You don't want technology that's going to box you into a corner. So here are some of the trends that we are seeing in the industry, and these are in no certain order. All of these trends are very important to companies' business intelligence strategies and data access needs, but we all know access to data is one of the most important business needs that help fuel the growth and direction of companies today. The data trends show that that remote access to data and mobilization will continue to rise to the top of all trends. Because of the way that the businesses are running today, right? In a more of a hybrid mode, right? Another top trend for years is reducing the need for IT resources and the enablement of business users to access the data they need when and how they need it. Letting IT and programming staff focus on what they need to focus on for the business growth, not just on the data, access requirements. Being able to insert automation, that's a huge one, when and where it's needed for delivery of reports and the access to data. So if you can put automation in place to, automatically deliver stuff out and make it more, make users more self-sufficient at that point, so they don't have to go do stuff and do that delivery part, or, give them a nice interface to be able to access it. And today's topic that we'll be talking about is replacing some of the older technology, right? In some of those use cases, and that's around the Query 400 or doing, special programming to be able to get those different, levels of data access. And another trend that I believe will always be on the top of the list is being able to give power users direct access to data via Microsoft Excel. So they can analyze the data and make faster and quicker decisions with Excel. I mean, everybody knows Excel. I think they start teaching it in first grade now, basically, with all the different kinds of stuff that you can do. I mean, Excel is a very powerful tool. So if you can get the data to Excel, you can pretty much do anything you want with it from the business user standpoint. In successful business today, business intelligence solutions not only bring together the users in the organization, but also all the key parts of the organization, like the business systems that produce the data, the processes, and the data that lives on those systems, and use those and also is used in the processes, and deliver it to the business users in a format they needed to do their jobs in. The term adaptability in the BI world and in any strategy, right, is key to the success factor of digital transformation of data. You need to have the ability to allow business users to quickly make those decisions and solve their business problem based on the data, no matter where that data may live inside of the organization. And having a solution that can grow and change. Again, from that standpoint, I already talked a little bit about this, but having a solution that can grow and change within the company over time as requirements of the business change is key. Because what you start with for data requirements today is not going to be the same in a couple of years. And trust me, businesses change over time, right? And that's a good thing. So you need a solution that you can easily create views over the data and manage them easily within inside of the organization, but also have multiple ways you can deploy to the end user inside and outside of your organization securely. All the data that organizations collect today is way more valuable to the growth of the business than sometimes what they think it is. And it's not uncommon for people and organizations to be scared of the data they produce. So again, having a BI solution or strategy around allowing how you can quickly visualize the data and create with minimal or no SQL knowledge at all, inside of those different processes. Can really help you, break some of those big growth barriers and challenges you might be facing today. Now let's move a little bit deeper into the topic of getting more out of your data by, modernizing your business intelligence solution or creating a deeper strategy around your data access. With how fast-paced the business world is today, companies, obviously need to be able to turn on a dime. They need to be able to turn quicker and make quicker decisions and adjust the business to the data trends that they're seeing. And the effort that companies are putting towards their digital and data transformation efforts, companies need solutions that can help them move that company forward, right? And taking their data and making insightful and easy to understand data stories that can be easily used to make decisions faster and easier. If you look at the chart here, basically you can divide your organization into four. So if you look at the data needs within the organization, you can divide those into basically four columns, right? The first one is the power of the data. Being able to create powerful views with prompts and conditional logic without having to write programs or making multiple passes over your data. I always say, like I was talking about before, is build it once, use it many different times. So being able to add a simple prompt to your data, you can actually reprompt and pull open different orders, different customer information, all from one single view. Having the flexibility, so when requests change, businesses don't have to wait for days and weeks. We work with a lot of companies that we hear, stories of how long it takes them to get their data, right, in the format that needed in it. Some users want the data in Excel. Some want to look at it in a browser and create pretty graphs and charts with it. But having the flexibility of deployment for users is key to all data access strategies. Being able to provide accuracy, right, by providing central store of definitions. Again, reusing those definitions and stuff like that in a process, not have to recreate them all the time, right? That can help eliminate the chance, for some of those, human error processes there. So not being able to transpose data and stuff like that. Most users are running the same reports over the same data and the same tables multiple times a day, right? So being able to create and reuse that information is key in there. And finally, security. Security is a huge part of this, right? Being able to give access. Even if you're relying on the IBM I security for setup, SQL will honor that security. So it's nice to be able to have a solution that will honor the IBM I security, but you can also go a layers deeper inside of there for security as well, all the way down to the field level or row level security functions. Now, when it comes to Query 400, for 30 plus years now, IBM I shops have, really defaulted to using Query 400 or programs to access their data, fulfilling the basic needs of, generating simple reports from DB2 data. Again, in today's fast-paced world, transformation of data transformation, more and more organizations are finding Query 400 and custom programs can't keep up with the requirements around data and reporting and just the pure analytics of it, because some of the limitations of the applications that they don't have access to do, right? Sometimes it's around the user interface, right? The user interface is not friendly for designing, and being able to do that. A lot of people, there's a lot of generations and stuff like that, or a lot of different areas of the business, sometimes in IT even, that are not really familiar with the IBM I or don't have familiarity with how to use SQL statements and stuff like that. So sometimes the user interface can get them. Compatibility with Microsoft Excel. One of the most common interfaces in the business world today is it's hard to get data into there, right? It takes multiple steps and it takes a process to do it. Compound queries are unscalable. And then the data integrity is potentially at risk. Now, let me just spend just a few minutes on each one of these, just to sort of walk through these, starting with the user interface, like I was talking about, right? The user interface is just not user-friendly at all. Let's face it, the IBM I is a very, very powerful system to run your business on, but green screens are not pretty to look at sometimes for some people, right? And that goes to different individuals, what they're used to and what they sort of grew up on, from that standpoint. Some are used to, the green screen is very easy to maneuver for a lot of us, but a lot of it, people are expecting graphical interfaces. There are many more reasons that you need to modernize a process, and let's just face it, that younger generation, right? I mean, it is there, right? They are coming into the industry, they're entering the business world today. They have never really been introduced to those 5250 interfaces, right? And the green screen capabilities and stuff like that. They use it to sort of manage the system or to IPL it or certain things like that, but they live in a graphical GUI era. Have you ever, I always like to, look at someone's face when they first see, a green screen, right? And they go, oh, geez, what's that? Their mind first screens old system. What is that? Without realizing how really capable the IBM I is for running the business. Younger generation or not, new hires are likely to have different skill sets still, right? And different experiences and never seen the green screen applications in their lives and not know really how to do that without some formal, training and stuff like that. in order for them to take on the challenge of some of the organizations, business needs and stuff like that, and data access needs, they need a graphical interface to be able to do that. They need to know, they need to be able to, first of all, understand, SQL a little bit from that standpoint, or provide an interface that they can walk through, a more wizard-driven kind of capabilities. But in some cases, DB2 data in other systems that might not live on the IBMI, like Microsoft SQL and Oracle, you need to have access to those sets of data as well. So that's a huge part of the process, is not just living on the IBMI system, but getting data from other systems. And the next one is, look at how it works, and more importantly, how it does not work with Microsoft Excel, right? Over the years, Microsoft Excel has become, one of the most powerful business applications for business users who need to manipulate and analyze data in ways that they're comfortable with, right? Let's face it, you can pretty much do anything you need to with data when you get it into Excel, but the whole problem is getting it into the Excel fast and easy. Getting data out of the IBMI and into Excel using Query 400 and other methods by no means is not impossible, but it does require multiple steps. And too many organizations really have come to accept that over the time as a necessary evil in their process. And yes, you can use ACS to do this, but you still have some complexity to it. And in some users will still run into issues trying to do so because of the process and the knowledge that is needed to do so. In reality, this process is inefficient and not optimal, right? In IT, it's very time consuming for them. And also the business users, if they're the ones running this. So it can delay business users getting the timely data they need to make informed decisions and quick business decisions, right? Some businesses will try to take shortcuts and transpose data manually into a spreadsheet themselves. This is not only inefficient, the workaround introduces the risks of human error again, right? And likely can comprise data integrity, or compromise the data integrity inside of there. The next limitation is around scalability. With Query 400, your compound queries might start to box you into some corners inside of there, right? Because of it's not truly scalable. Query 400, you can only search a single partition at a time on a local database. That means in IT, the IT department needs to create multiple queries and run them manually and over the different data sets. This is not only an inefficient model, this model simply is just not scalable in today's business world. With Query 400's limitations, of one query at a time, anytime someone needs a slightly different set of data, you need to modify and run a new query. Let's say, for example, that someone in the finance department wants to, run maybe like a trial balance and has multiple columns of credits and debits. And when they're running that, it's very difficult to split that data in one pass due to the limitations of query and some of the conditional logic. So it's so it boxes them into that corner there. Even things like converting character field to numeric, converting to dates, conditional logic, concatenating, and other familiar and frequently used functions, each require their own step and their own query. And that's just not for Query 400, that's for programs as well that you might be running. This means that every time you need to refresh the data, you will need to run each individual query in the correct order to get the desired results. For one-off data pulls, it's not ideal. For a set of data that gets pulled regularly, it's simply unsustainable in today's business world. And today I'll be showing you, so some of the different tools that you can use inside of inside of the SQL BI to be able to shield users from, I'll call it, the complexity of the query, right? So you don't want so you don't want to frighten people from the data and showing them the query. So you can shield them from the queries and make it simple and fast by just clicking on the data views that have been set up. And last of all, the data integrity, right, is potentially at risk in some cases. Runtime prompts, which I'll be showing here today, allow users to input variables, inside of there, right, without touching the underlying code or the need to understand, again, the complexity of the query statement. There are no runtime prompts in Query 400, so when business users need to change their data sets to analyze different results, it requires modification to the code or to the query to be able to do so. And there are a lot of people that are efficient in that process, but it's just not a really sustainable process, right? That's a shareable kind of a reusable kind of function, right? So let's say, like an example would be like the accounting department needs to search for certain, customer information that they do, dozens of times each day, right? Within Query 400, IT has to provide two options: either elevate their security privileges so they can modify the query on their own, or they manually have to go into the query, enter the exact count number, and rerun the query every time they need to refresh the data. Without runtime prompts, Query 400 ultimately interfaces with your organization's ability to get business done efficiently, right? So being able to have to go back and do some of that stuff more in a manual process. All right, now so a little bit about the SQL software itself, right? So we talked about some of the powers of the data and what organizations need out of the data. We talked about some of those different areas of what Query 400 has limitations to. But I want to sort of introduce a little bit about what SQL Business Intelligence can help you with, right? The sole purpose of SQL Business Intelligence is to unlock your data and use the data to do your analytics, right? And make that very easy, no matter what level of knowledge you have, right? So we really like to, say that we empower IT and business users by first providing IT tools to easily translate and deliver lots of data from different data sources into clear and actionable stories with an easy to use interface to make users more self-sufficient in accessing their data needs by removing the need to do time-consuming coding and the building of complex data warehouses and complex sometimes views over the data. And by doing this before mentioned task, we can in turn enable the business users to make quicker yet quicker informed business decisions with their live business data and or historical data as well. All companies today need to be able to use the data that their business systems collect on a daily basis more efficiently. If that data lives natively to the IBMI on a DB2 database, or as many organizations today may have a mixture of business platforms that are key to moving their businesses forward, that they need access to. And being able to take all that data, no matter where it lives, and use it to do deeper business analysis and stuff like that to tell stories with the data. With Fortra SQL Business Intelligence solution, we are helping IT and business users in organizations access and deploy easy to use data interfaces for their complex business data, which will in turn turn your data into actionable insights to drive your business to the next level. Our true goal is to make this as simple as possible for IT and business users in all organizations to access the data they need when they want it and in the format they need it in. And here's one of the things that that I'll be talking and showing in the live demonstration here in just a minute here. But we all know it's challenging when switching business systems, right? Or switching analytics systems and switching just any system, right? And especially with the BI tool and stuff like that, if you're using something for a long time, it's hard to switch, and you've got a lot of stuff that you built, in the other applications over the years. So one of the really nice things, is having the capability to be able to, take the existing queries you have and bring those into the system with an import capability. So I'll be showing that in the live demonstration here in just a few minutes here. But SQL does provide you a couple different ways. We do have an IBMI, command line that you can actually go in and actually convert your queries from. And then also through the viewpoint capabilities, we have a GUI interface that I'll be walking here through today to be able to show you some of those different functions. So those are the two main, I'll say the two main methods that we have there. Now with SQL Business Intelligence, it's a complete tool set from that standpoint. It's a single solution. With a single solution like SQL, it allows you to do pretty much everything you need to do from the business standpoint, from creating and the distribution of information within inside of your organizations, right? So you can import queries, you can create views, you can create views and queries, drill downs, pivot tables, build custom reports, dashboards are huge. So being able to take all the different data views that you create and actually bring those into a dashboard and secure those to different departments or different users. And here's another way to look at it, right? SQL really helps you with the complexity of your organization's data, right? In looking at the historical data, operational data, or live data. SQL helps you create a reusable, secure, and easy to use repository of views, right? Dashboards or other SQL objects that there might be inside of there too. So we have like scripting capability where you can set up some automation and stuff like that. Or you can automatically deliver through some of the automation capability. You can schedule reports to be emailed to individuals, right? It could be, hey, I want this Excel file sent to someone every single day or every single week or every single month, with that information. We truly are simplifying the way organizations connect to their business data and how IT and programmers are interacting with it. So we're trying to really simplify that portion to the business community and the IT departments out there as well. Now, planning, gathering, organizing, and analyzing. These are some of the strengths of the solution, right? That we walk through and we give you the capability to be able to do is that strategy around things, right? So when you're building views inside of there, we help with that. It's not just about the solution, right? It's about the expertise of the teams that you work with as well. And with the SQL BI solution, we can help you bring your business together with the data and easily create those data stories with our business interfaces and stuff like that, and create those from different systems. So SQL is built with DB2 in mind, but it also, you can connect to other systems, like I've mentioned before, right? So you could connect to, the Microsoft SQL servers, the Oracle databases, anything that is type 4 JDBC compliant driver, you can connect to and actually connect and create those views over. With SQL BI, we use sort of that 3-step methodology of collecting and discovering the live data over your organization's business systems, wherever that lives, understanding, designing around that data, where we're collecting it from. Is it real-time data? Is it historical data? What kind of insights do you need out of that data? So understanding and designing around those different areas. And this can be done with either data-centric views or more graphical manners, right? With graphs and charts to show data stories that are easier to consume. And that's the big thing, right? Raw data is not fun all the time, right? So being able to make it easier to consume for people, and easier meaning more graphical some cases, right? Or maybe it's not graphical, maybe it's just putting, columns and putting different headings on them, more usable, information on them, or totaling things up for them. And then you can share and deploy to the business users using, the web interface for zero footprint application or zero application footprint, and then deploy dashboards, via these different interfaces, or have them directly access that data through Microsoft Excel or have it emailed to them. So there's different ways to be able to do that share and deploy function. And again, I just want to sort of state this here. I already talked about this, but SQL BI is built with DB2 in mind, and that's a large part of what we do. But there's also all those other systems out there that you might need access to and oversight into. So it's always nice to have one solution that can connect out to those different systems. If it is a MySQL, Oracle, Microsoft server, like I said, any type 4 JDBC compliant database. And this is something to remember as well. Again, there's no reason to fear the data. No matter what level of SQL skills you do have, you can access the data and efficiently use that data with our technology. So we have different levels that you can use here, and I'll show this here in a little bit, is expert level all the way down to no SQL skills at all. We have an easy to use graphical interface that allows you to sort of either use a wizard or copy and paste information into the application. Now, here are those different interfaces that IT or users, have access to for developing views and or dashboards or SQL objects around the data. The top left, this is more of like a direct SQL statement, right? So you can copy and paste the SQL statement in. And the top right on this PowerPoint slide here gives you the the interface, interactive interface, right? So you can interface with the different sets more on a graphical manner, right? And then you have more like the access, database kind of structures and stuff like that. And then the bottom one is more of designer that you can sort of tabular structure, right? So you can walk through and select your data sources, files, fields, filters, and all that good stuff inside of there, and then create variables if you need to. And then the lower right is more of the what we call template based, where it's going to guide you to. This is where you would, I'll call it shield the complexity of a query from someone, right? So this would shield the complexity of the query from them, meaning that they're just going to select the column headers that they want to be able to, maybe export to a browser or export to an Excel file. With SQL BI, you can also create data prompts, with calendars, so simplicity of things, right? Multiple, you can have multiple parameters or a single parameter prompt windows. So you have the flexibility to be able to create all these different prompts and stuff like that. And I'll be showing you how to do that prompt in just a few seconds here. Client tables can be built, with a simple wizard, right, inside of here. So if you need to be able to do more of a pivot tables, to be able to do more drill down into data to slice and dice stuff, we have that capability there to be able to slice and dice. And then you can also create guided drill downs. This is a huge part of the application, is being able to guide people to the data that they need, right? You sort of know with those data strategies, when you create the data strategies within inside of organizations, you sort of know what skill level people are at, right? So some people will have more skills and they want to drill down and analyze the data, more on their side with their own selection of data, right? But then you have some people that you want to drive them to exactly what they want. Maybe that's more executive level kind of stuff, right? So you can do that, different kinds of data pushes and stuff to different individuals depending on those different needs. And if you need to create dashboards inside of here as well, some more of those visual skills or visual data access, you can do that through dashboards. And creating dashboards is basically, there's really no special, basic window skills, right? You're just taking the data views and presenting them nicely inside of there, right? Creating graphs, charts, gauges, those deeper visual pieces of analyzing the data. So that's one of those trends that I was talking about in the beginning, that we see a lot is, a lot of people want those data views, but then they also want to take those views and make them very easy for executives to get to that information. Now this slide here really just talks about the different areas that we can actually, or different deployment options that we have, right? So we can deploy through a desktop client, the browser, we have dashboards and reporting capability, we have those client tables, and then Microsoft Excel functionality as well that we can export information to inside of there. All right, so I'm going to spend a few minutes here just to walk through a live demonstration now of importing and modifying a query. So the first thing here is I have my viewpoint designer open, and the viewpoint designer inside of here has the capability to be able to connect to your IBMI or multiple IBMI systems. And then I can actually say, hey, where do I want to put that query? And then we have an import option. That import option is going to allow you to select the different query or queries. So if I want to, if I have one or if I have a whole bunch inside of there, I can actually go and grab multiple ones at the same time if I need to. So I can select multiple if I need to and import them all at once, or just one query at a time. In this case, I'm just going to grab this one query, the sales query here. And then I'm going to hit the import button, and that's going to import that into my sales library here, or my QTemp library here. Now, from a data access standpoint, that query is accessible already. So that after importing it, I can now go to a browser, or I can go through the Viewpoint client as well, and I can actually hit, and I'll hit, I refresh this here, and it's available to me. So a user could come in there and double click on it and say, hey, I want to see the data and see that view and get to that information. So very easy to be able to say, hey, here's a query, convert it, and then deploy that query directly from there. Now they could view it, they could create, there's many different things they could do in the interface here, right? They could email the results to themselves. They might say, they might want to create a graph or a chart with something. They might say, geez, I want to graph or chart this information. They can select the data they want to graph or chart, and they can select what they want and say, hey, I'm just going to do a 3D column on this one, or they want a line chart or a bar chart or a pie chart. They can do those different things like that. A lot of companies will use this for, hey, I need to do a presentation, or say a presentation to the executives, and I want to show them the live data as of 5 minutes ago or whatever, or pull this open on the computer and do it live, right? From that standpoint. So it gives you the capability to be able to do that. Subtotals, drill downs, like I was talking about, you can create those drill downs. But also very important is download the file. So you can download it as a PDF, or more importantly, you can download it as a usable file to Excel inside of the interface. If I want to download and export that to Excel, simple button click, download, puts it down into here, and then I can open that up in Excel directly from the application. So very easy to do, from the application standpoint. And then if I open that up, in Excel, say I push that data down to Excel. So it's a very, basically one click, basically, right? Saying, hey, download the data, push it to Excel, and then open it up in Excel. And then from Excel, or we could do that directly from Excel as well. Let me get a message here. Oh, I got it open already. There we go. So if we want to do something from Excel, we have our viewpoint capability here as well. So we have our viewpoint plugin here. So we can actually edit that and go through that process. So if I want to refresh that data, I can refresh that data from here directly. The Excel plugins are really nice because it gives you a lot of different functionality with the plugins. One of the things let's see if I have one of those open here. As you can do different things with the Excel plugins, or have this Excel document down on your desktop now, and then use that information to be able to prompt or query information, or we could use graphs and charts inside of the Excel file. So there's nice ways to be able to do that. But this Excel, you could drive those views directly from Excel themselves. And refresh the data, or have a shortcut on your or have the file on your desktop and just open it and refresh it, or drive it from the browser and then download it from here. So very easy to be able to use it. Some people like to be able to see it and say, yep, I want to do more analytics on it. I'm going to push it down to Excel and go that direction. You can have multiple tabs open here as well, so you have different functions that you can do. Now, if I want to modify that query, right? I can come in here with the correct permissions now, right? I can come into the Viewpoint Designer and I can say, hey, I want to go into design mode. And this is now where I can start the design process to be able to design things and say, hey, I just want to modify the SQL statement, right? I can come in here and modify the SQL statement. I can read the SQL statement here. Or we have that view builder option, which is more of a tabular option. I like the files and fields option. Files and field option gives you sort of the best of both worlds. Where it gives you the capability to visualize, the different, tables and databases inside of here, and quickly add databases too. So I can hit the, create a database here as well, or create a connection to a database here, and then and open that up from here, and then create my joins inside of here. And then this screen right here is the data that's going to be exported out at that point. So my columns, basically, right? And this gives you that capability to be able to update this information. Now to quickly make a prompt, all I have to do, there's multiple ways to do this, but I just like to be able to drag the field name down here, and then I can put up some syntax inside of here to basically say, hey, if this is equal to ampersand no, and then I'm going to save that back to my system. So I save that back to my Greg temp. And then I can, when I I'll go to my browser here. And I can, when I double click on that one, you'll see now there's a prompt to it. So very quick and easy to be able to build prompts. And prompts like this, right? This is a prompt that I'm typing into a data field. So you can do data field prompts like that to be able to pull that information. Now I can reprompt from here. So if I want to reprompt and grab other data, I can do that, or get live or more data. I could do that from here. So that does give you the capability. There is other things you can do with prompts. So that the nice thing is with prompts, they could be more, date-driven prompts like that, right? So it's a start date, end date kind of feel, right? Or it could be more of a, let's see if I have a good example of this one here. Yep. Might be more of a, hey, I want to prompt inside of here that drives people into the database information, right? So we can use the database to be able to provide those drop downs inside of here, so they don't have to remember and type stuff. They can select from menus, and then from those menu selections or prompts, they can actually get to that data from here. So that gets you the a couple different ways to be able to use the the interface to be able to guide people to that data sets. And I'm just going to check here. Give me a quick second. All right. Yeah, that was about the main thing I want to show here today. I want to try to keep this to the 45-minute mark for everybody. Again, about 15 minutes back of your lives here. So what I'm going to do here, if you can, Ian, I'm going to open up for some questions here just to see if there's any questions that anybody might have.
Sure. So if you hit escape on your keyboard, everybody, you should be able to see a Q&A panel. It may also, if you don't want to hit escape, you should be able to hover over the top or the bottom of the screen and it should appear. You can send in your questions through that Q&A panel and we'll answer them as they come in. This first one, Greg, is we have created our own SQL queries over the years outside of Query 400. Will these be imported to your SQL BI solution as well?
Yeah, the queries, yeah, so queries that, sort of the outdated technology I was talking about, right? Or different ways that we can import in. Query 400 is one of them, right? We can go grab that query file. If it's an SQL statement that people are running, we can basically just create a new blank view and then copy that SQL statement into that blank view, and then the syntax editor will show you what you need to correct if there's anything that needs to be corrected, and then you can run those as well. But yep, sure can.
Okay, again, Q&A panel, and select to send to all presenters, all panelists, I believe is the option. This next question is the Excel add-in something that comes with a solution, or is an additional cost?
That is, there is no additional cost to that. That does come with the application, and that does get installed when you install like the Viewpoint the Viewpoint desktop client. So that is an option that you can either give users or not give users. But they can still, no matter what, they can still push documents or down to Excel through the web browser without the Excel plugins. It's just that they're going to access the data directly from Excel, then the Excel plugin would be required, but there's no extra cost to that.
Okay, is it mandatory to create scripts for automation capabilities?
The answer is no. It's not mandatory. It just gives you more flexibility inside of there, because you can string multiple things together inside of there. But if there was simple automation, say you don't need an automation script to email reports, right? There's ways you can schedule those inside the clients to be able to set up a scheduled basis, right, without using a script function. The script just gives you some more flexibility to be able to use and condition data sometimes, right? So you might be using a script to call different IBMI commands. But then you also might want to run different views with those different commands. So it just gives you a little bit more flexibility.
Okay, coming up in the last chance, again, if anybody has any questions, to use the Q&A panel and select to send to all panelists. This next question is the SQL web interface an extra cost for deploying to users?
Yes and no. It depends on what package, if that's purchased, right? So you don't, if you're a current customer, right, and if you have SQL, you might have purchased a package that might not have it inside of there. So it really depends on the package you purchased or that you purchased going forward. It's pretty much in every deployment that we do today, because that's one of the main deployment methods. So if you don't own it, I can have one of our content or our sales experts reach out to you and give you a little bit more information on that. But today, if it's a new purchase or a new implementation, that's pretty much standard in the packages today.
Okay, while waiting for any additional Q&A, let me say that a couple people have asked through email about a replay of this event, this PowerCast and the handout. Yes, we are distributing them. They both will be available on the Common Learning Management System. I'll put it up as soon as it renders. It should be up later in the day. If you are familiar with the Common Learning Management System, just go there. And if not, you'll get an email in the morning with a direct link to it. This next one is, can this package be used in financial institutions and getting reports for different LPARs, libraries, objects, authorities, etc.?
Yep, it sure can. That's very common, right? So from that standpoint, so you can connect the different LPARs. It's more of a licensing structure from that standpoint. But yep, you sure can. That is definitely an option.
All right, I think we might have reached the end of the questions. Again, everybody, you will get a handout and the replay, an email later today, tomorrow morning, more likely. Greg, thank you for your time. Thank you for a good presentation.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks, everyone.
All right, everybody have a good day.
Thanks. Bye.